Hello and welcome to Wednesday Live with Evie. This is number 54. And if you are here, whether you're live or you're on the recording, say hi in the comments so I can say hi back. And today's topic is the most important question you're probably not asking yourself. And it's going to be a quick one, so I'm going to talk briefly also about why I don't use a fun or fancy planner. So again, say hi in the comments and let me know what questions you ask yourself or you'd like to ask yourself on a daily basis. Excuse me. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Evie Burke, and I help women entrepreneurs take their productivity to a new level. So at the end of the day, they can be fully present with the people that they spend their off hours with. And they don't have to worry about what didn't I get done today or what needs to be done tomorrow. Instead, they can just be completely and fully present with whoever they choose to spend their off hours with. So today's topic again is the most important question you are not answering or you're not asking yourself. And this one is an important question, and it's going to sound a little familiar if you are over in the Facebook group Productivity for Women Entrepreneurs. And that question is, what is the one most important thing for me to accomplish today? So what's the one most important thing for me to accomplish today? That's it. Simple question, right? And it's important because a lot of times we can get really caught up on or in everything that has to get done, right? And we don't take the time to step back and think about what is it that really actually needs to get done or what's actually really important to get done. So if you choose to take this question on, when you make your to-do list, think about that question. What is the most important thing for me to get done today? And, put a little asterisk by it, however you want to mark that this is the one that's the most important. It doesn't mean you have to do it right away. Sometimes that helps. But it means that if nothing else gets done today, that's the thing that's getting done. And if it feels like absolutely everything has to get done, I know we all have those days. I know I have those days where I look at my to-do list and I say, what absolutely has to get done today? And I look at it, I'm like, man, all of it needs to get done. All of it's important. But if you really, take a step back, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and then take a deep breath or 5, and look at the list again, usually there's one or two that's going to kind of bubble to the top, and hopefully it's just one that will say, this is the thing that needs to get done. And there's some things that you can think about to kind of help decide, what's most important if you're not sure, if you're having some problems with it. And one of those is you can think about it by what would make you happiest to get done. So if at the end of the day, what would be, if this one thing were done, that would make you the happiest? What is that one thing? Another thing you might look at is which task is really going to move you forward to your goals more than any of the other ones. And another way to look at it might be which one would feel like, which task, if you got that done, would really feel like there was a weight that was just lifted off your shoulders and you would just feel lighter. Which task would that be? So there's some different ways that you can decide to approach the question, but again, it's what is the most important thing for me to do today? All right. And if you find yourself without a to-do list, stop and ask yourself just this question and then work on that item. I know that there are days, I know I have them too, where it feels like you start the day behind and you're running around like a chicken with the head cut off. And especially then, that's when you need to take the step back and say, okay, what really needs to get done? What is the most important thing for me to do today? And just start working on that. So I also said, before I get to that, share in the comments questions you ask yourself. So what are the questions that you ask yourself on a daily basis that really seem to help you out? I'd love to know what those are. And then the other thing I said that I was going to cover is why I keep my to-do list in notebooks and not in a fancy planner. So I keep my daily to-dos go in this notebook. And it's just, here, I'll show you a blank page. So it's just lines, and there's a quote at the bottom. The other side has the quote at the top. It's still lines. And it works for me, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then the master list and the weekly list stay here. It's a bigger format. It gives me more space. And again, it's just a piece of lined paper. I'm trying to see if I have any blank pieces of, well, there's the back side of one. It's just lined paper. That's all it is. And, excuse me. And the reason I don't use a fun or a fancy planner is actually twofold. So one of the reasons is most planners don't really allow me the space I want to outline my weekly to-dos in a way that works for me. So I like to have everything listed out so that I know these are the things that need to get done this week. These are the things that are important. And most planners don't allow me to do that. And then there's another reason that is even, I'm just looking to make sure I'm not missing comments. Some people commented last week and I missed them until the next day. So I'm trying to figure out where I need to go to see the comments. Aha, there we go. Mary, for the questions they ask themselves on a daily basis. She said, what are my long-term goals and what short-term tasks do I have to do now to get there? Yeah, good questions. Good questions. So going back to the planner. So yeah, the first reason I don't use them is they don't really allow me the space for the weekly or the master list. And I like to have those, in one place. And then more to the point, there are times when I don't create to-do lists. And I know, shocking, the productivity person doesn't create a to-do list, right? And I will share that these are also times generally when not a lot is getting done. These are times where I might be a little bit down, and for whatever reason, creating the to-do list doesn't seem like a priority. However, I also know that I get more done when I do have my to-do lists around. And some days there's just so many meetings and things happening that it doesn't make sense. Yeah, Mary, it doesn't make sense for me to take the time to create a to-do list because I'm just bopping from one thing to another, and it's not so much that I have time to get anything done as it is I just need to get to the next thing that I'm doing or to the next phone call. So that's fine too. But then what happens for me is I have that page in my planner that I've invested money in that doesn't get used. And it kind of feels like it's out there going, you didn't complete this thing that you spent your time and money on. And it can make it harder for me to go back the next day and start it. And it's purely like a mindset. It's a purely like psychological type thing. But for me, it's a lot easier just to use my notebook, because with the notebook, if I miss a day or two, it doesn't matter. The next page of the notebook is always whatever the date is that I write in. There's not a specific date in there, or it's not expecting, you have 10 days to use over the course of 2 weeks, and what did you do with those 10 days, or, however the planner is set up. So that's one of the other reasons why it works for me. And kind of a third reason is I tend to change up a little bit how I keep track of things. So it allows me that flexibility to change what I'm writing in. I tend to, and this has stayed the same for probably almost a year now, which means this is really working for me, because normally I would be changing things every 6 months or so. But normally I break down AM, what are the top tasks in the morning, and then PM, what are the top tasks then. And because it's on a piece of paper, and at the top I have what my appointments are, it is really easy, for things just to take up the amount of space that they need. And if I'm really getting detailed about the individual pieces of a task that have to get done for something, then if it needs to go on to the next page, it can. That very rarely happens. because usually if it's going to the next page, it means I've put too much on my plate for the day. But sometimes if I'm really detailing out every single little like 2-minute task that needs to happen just to make sure that it gets checked off, then sometimes things will go to the next page. So with planners that are already printed out, it's much more difficult, if not impossible, to have that flexibility. And that flexibility is important to me. Now, I know some people live and die by their fancy planners, and that's great. One of the things I tell all of my clients is find what works for you. So just because this is what works best for me doesn't mean this is what's going to work best for you, but there are some universal things that really should be in a good planner, like listing out what is the to-do list for the things I need to do today. There's some other things too, but I'm not going to go into those right now. So if a fancy planner is what works for you, that's great. What I would love for you to do is to share your fun or fancy planner that you use in the comments so that other people who might be looking for one, because that's how they work, they can see what it is that you're using and why you like it. So share those in the comments below. Yeah, Mary says, I think we all have hamster on the wheel days. Yes, we definitely all do. And those are normal and they will happen. And it's just about recovery time. You know, how long do you stay on the wheel and how long does it take you to recover from the wheel? So anyway, that is it for this week's Wednesday Live with Evie. This was a fairly quick and short and sweet one as far as these go for me. So I am here live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central. And if you want a bit more of me or a bit more productivity, then head over to the Facebook group, Productivity for Women Entrepreneurs. I just popped the link there into the comments. And, you know, request to join there. Answer the questions so I know just a little bit more about you. And I invite you to join us over there if you haven't already. So again, my name's Evie Burke. This has been Wednesday Live with Evie. And until next week, much love.